Discover the heartwarming journey of how 10,000 meals transformed the great Mongol Khan's legacy. In a cramped, worn apartment in Detroit's struggling neighborhood, Alex bustled around her tiny kitchen, the aroma of instant noodles rising like steam off a train. Her teenage son Ethan sat at the small wooden table, earbuds in, oblivious to the chaos around him. In the next rooms, the rattle of the old heating system echoed their financial strain. For Alex, every day felt like an uphill battle, grinding away at 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. But in the middle of it all, their space crackled with love and laughter, the foundation of everything she hoped to build. It was just another long day, but fate had different plans. The surprise delivery of 10,000 meals piled high outside the local food bank was an explosion of color and possibility. Local nonprofit groups and volunteer spirits ignited with joy, and Alex felt a fire surge deep within her. This was her chance, her community's chance to come together and transform their little corner of the world. She signed up to help distribute the meals, wanting to be part of something bigger. As the line to receive the food grew, Alex caught snippets of stories and laughter from neighbors. A woman reminisced about home-cooked meals that once filled her family table. 2 kids raced for snacks, squeals of joy echoing in the air. It reminded her of the legendary Great Mongol Khan, famed for uniting tribes through shared feasts. If he could bridge divides with meals, could she do the same in her community? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Motivated by her vision of uniting her neighbors, Alex organized communal dinners, where hearts and plates would overflow. At first, people were cautious, holding on to prejudices ignited by years of economic stratification. But slowly, as she plated up hot meals and shared stories, deep connections began to blossom. She met folks she never would have otherwise: a retired veteran with a backyard garden full of tomatoes, a stay-at-home dad who loved to cook, a grandmother who brought her secret family recipes. They laughed, shared struggles and dreams. Then came the storm. A community meeting turned sour as passionate voices clashed over the direction they should take. Should they demand immediate aid or build a sustainable community? Alex stood, her voice shaking, but strong. We can lift each other up. We are more than just statistics. Yet skepticism lingered, the walls of prejudice still looming heavy. When news broke that the food bank could close down to clean up the neighborhood, hope teetered on the edge, threatening to collapse under the weight of fear. Friends turned against friends, trust drained like spilled milk. Alex felt panic. Would they let fear drown their spirit? She knew then, more than ever, they needed to rally together. Their meals symbolized hope and connection, something worth fighting for. In that moment, as Alex prepared for the final rally, she stood at a crossroads. Would her community rise up, united, or would they crumble under the looming threat? She whispered to herself, heart racing, we are stronger together. We can do this. And with that thought, she took a deep breath, ready to embrace the challenge ahead. As the day of the rally approached, the air crackled with tension. The streets felt charged, as though they too were holding their breath. Alex stepped out of her apartment, the familiar rattle of the old heating system fading behind her. She took a moment to look around, a community she loved, but one struggling under the weight of uncertainty. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the cracked sidewalks, and Alex remembered all the conversations she had shared over those meals. She could almost hear the laughter, see the smiles flicker like sparks igniting a flame. We can do this, she whispered again, a mantra to keep her spirits up as she made her way to the community center. When she arrived, she was met with mixed expressions. Some faces radiated determination, while others reflected doubt. She took a deep breath, a moment to gather herself. She knew she needed to remind them of the warmth they had created together, to remind them what they had already built through those shared dinners. Everyone, she began, her voice steady. We've gathered here out of love, out of need, and out of hope. We may be facing challenges, but remember every meal shared and every story told has brought us closer. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, just like the great Mongol Khan who united tribes through food. Her eyes scanned the crowd, watching the way people began to nod. There was something there, a glimmer of recognition, the realization that they were not alone. Like threads, their lives were interwoven with common dreams and desires. It was a feeling that surged through the group, urging them to step forward, to embrace the unity that had blossomed amongst their struggles. As she spoke, she remembered the grandmother with the secret recipes. What if we showcase our stories? Alex suggested. A potluck-style event, not just a meal distribution. We'll invite everyone to bring a dish that represents their family's background. Let us celebrate what makes us unique and show our strength in diversity. Chatter erupted, conversations flowing like water. People began to share their favorite recipes: the retired veteran's garden tomatoes, the stay-at-home dad's spicy chili. Even the kids chimed in with desserts they loved. But then, just as the energy rose, a voice cut through the excitement. That won't matter if the food bank shuts down. It was a long-time resident, his face drawn with concern. Silence blanketed the room as everyone absorbed the weight of his words. What he says is true, another voice followed. They'll rip this place away and we'll be left with nothing. The unity we create here can change the story, Alex exclaimed, her heart racing as the passion surged within her. We have to show them how much we matter. The food bank isn't just about meals, it's about community. If we can come together, there's no way they can ignore us. Fingers tightened into fists, faces twisted with resolve and determination. She could feel the collective energy of everyone surging, a bond forming stronger than she had ever imagined. That evening, as her phone buzzed with messages of support and excitement, Alex sank down onto her couch, the weight of the day pressing down on her. Peace mingled with anxiety. Would they truly come together? Could her vision really make a difference? She closed her eyes and whispered a silent wish into the night, hoping that the seeds of community they planted together would take root. But even as she envisioned a hopeful future, one question lingered in the back of her mind. If the food bank closed, how could they keep the momentum going? And as those thoughts tangled within her, the sound of Ethan's laughter echoed from the next room, grounding her in the present, reminding her of everything worth fighting for. With determination growing inside her, Alex resolved to make that rally count. Tomorrow, they would not just protect the food bank, they would claim their space, their stories, and their community. But would it truly be enough to battle the forces threatening to tear it all apart? The following morning dawned with a crisp clarity that allowed the colors of the community to shine brighter than usual. Alex jolted awake, her heart racing with anticipation. Today was pivotal. The rally was not just a show of strength, it was a testament to what they had built together. The scent of coffee wafted through the air as she brewed a pot, the familiar routine comforting yet filled with urgency. Once dressed, she glanced in the mirror, taking a moment to steady herself. "You've got this," she murmured, brushing a stray hair aside. With a final deep breath, she stepped out into the world, the familiar cracks along the sidewalk somehow instilling a strange sense of hope. As she made her way to the community center, she noticed people gathering in small clusters, whispering and laughing, the atmosphere electric. It was as though the impending event had turned her neighborhood into a canvas, each person a vibrant stroke depicting unity and resilience. When she arrived, the space was already buzzing. Tables were set up, covered with colorful tablecloths. A diverse array of dishes was laid out, each one bearing a story. The retired veteran had brought his famous garden tomatoes, glistening with droplets of moisture. Next to them, a steaming pot simmered the stay-at-home dad's chili, fragrant and inviting. Children darted around with plates piled high, their chatter rising like music, a joyful rebellion against the uncertainties looming ahead. "Alex!" a voice called. It was Mia, her closest friend, bouncing on her toes, excitement radiating from her. "Look at this spread. You did amazing." Alex smiled broadly, absorbing the beauty of this moment. "We did amazing, Mia," Everyone brought something special. But just then, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Do you think they'll actually show up? I mean, the city officials, what if they ignore us? Mia shrugged with confidence. They can't ignore this. Look at what we've created. This is community spirit. As the crowd thickened, Alex climbed onto a makeshift stage, her heart thumping against her ribcage. The people fell quiet, eyes turning towards her with curiosity and hope. Thank you all for being here, she called out, her voice carrying a tone of genuine gratitude. Today, we aren't just fighting to keep this food bank open. We're celebrating who we are. Each one of us has a story, and every meal here represents a piece of our journey. The crowd erupted with cheers, the sound a wave that washed over her, giving her strength. Together, we can show them that our community is not just a spot on a map. It is alive, it is breathing, it is full of heart. As she spoke, she saw familiar faces twinkling with emotion: the grandmother who always made her famous pie, the kids with their dripping ice cream cones, the veterans with their shared tales. They were all embodiments of a larger spirit, a family bound not by blood but by shared experiences and dreams. But just as she was about to dive deeper into her message, a figure stepped forward. It was Harold, the man whose earlier doubts had cast shadows over her hopes. That's great and all, he interrupted, voice wavering, but is this really going to stop them? Are we strong enough to fight back? He was met with murmurs of agreement, but Alex felt a fire igniting within her. Yes, we are. Together, we're unstoppable. And today, we're not just fighting for meals. We're fighting for our right to belong. The rally was evolving. She could feel it in her bones. But beneath that rising tide of hope, a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. Did they truly have the power to fight? As the rally continued with voices blending into a harmonious chorus, she spotted Ethan pushing through the throng, his cheeks flushed and eyes bright. Her heart warmed at the sight, yet the questions loomed larger. What if today wasn't enough? What if their voices were drowned out by the intimidating machinery of authority? Yet, just when the air grew heavy with uncertainty, the first families began to rally towards the microphone, sharing stories of their heritage, of recipes passed down through generations, reminding everyone that there was strength in memories. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world in hues of orange and pink, Alex felt the energy shift. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for generations yet to come. But as the first words of hope soared above the crowd, deeper worries began to stir within her. What happens when a community fights back? And what if the fight could expose even deeper truths lurking in the shadows? As the sun dipped lower, the crowd's enthusiasm surged. Each voice melded into a tapestry of stories, intertwining dreams and shared sorrows. The genuine laughter of children bubbled alongside older voices, reflecting not just on food, but on love and survival. Alex felt a rush of gratitude for the moment, and yet, uncertainty continued to gnaw at her heart. Who's next? She called, trying to keep the momentum alive. People shifted, pointing and nodding at each other. She noticed the elderly woman, Mrs. Fisher, taking a deep breath, her frail form trembling slightly as she approached the microphone. Alex admired the way the older woman held her head high, even as her hands shook. Hello, everyone, Mrs. Fisher began, her voice a soft tremor, yet piercing through the noise. I came to this country as a refugee more than half a century ago. I brought with me just a few spices and my mother's recipes. That food, it gave me life. It connected me to my family, even when they were far away. Every word she uttered felt like a lifeline, connecting the audience to their shared stories. Alex's heart swelled. She had always admired Mrs. Fisher's resilience. There was something profoundly beautiful about the way memories could rise like steam from a boiling pot, linking the past to the present. As Mrs. Fisher continued, the crowd listened intently, nodding in understanding, exchanging glances that conveyed solidarity. Then she spoke of the food bank, how meals provided weren't just sustenance, they were reminders of love and belonging. We're not just here to keep it running, we're here to keep our stories alive. Alex couldn't help but cheer, along with everyone else. Laughter and applause erupted, But beneath that excitement, her doubts still clawed at her. What would happen once the rally ended? Would people remember their pledge to fight? The next speaker was a young boy named Jamal, no older than 10, who stepped up, clutching a bright blue piece of paper. "My mom told me to read this," he said, voice steady despite the nerves. "I was scared to come here today, but I know how important it is to share this." With a deep breath, he read his poem. It was simple but powerful, filled with dreams of a world where everyone had enough to eat. When he finished, tears glistened in many eyes, some whispered praise and others applauded fiercely. Jamal's innocence and strength struck a chord. If a child could stand there with that kind of courage, what stopped them all from being brave? As the final remarks drew closer, an unexpected voice broke through Harold again, stepping up beside Alex. The murmurs shifted, anticipation thickening the air. "Listen," he said, looking at the crowd, "I may have doubted before, but it's hard to ignore what's happening here today." His gaze was earnest, and the crowd leaned in closer, hanging on his words. "We can do this. We can change our situation. If we come together, we are stronger than anything they throw at us. We owe it to each other." A roar of agreement echoed through the community center. Alex felt her heart lift. Perhaps they were strong enough. Perhaps the fight wasn't just for meals, but for their voices to be heard. As Alex stepped back, she locked eyes with Ethan, who smiled back at her, a smile that brought warmth amidst the chaos. Just then, a loud horn blared from a distant street, and heads turned. The sound of sirens approached. The crowd fell into momentary silence. Worry etched itself across every face. Were the officials arriving to listen or to shut them down? Alex's heart raced again, but she steadied herself. The moment of truth felt near, and her mind raced with questions. Would they stand strong together, or would fear silence them? The sirens grew louder, their presence undeniable, and Alex grimaced, thinking of all they'd built. What would it take to defend their fight? She inhaled deeply, knowing that the answer could change everything if only they had the courage to face it. The air was electric, charged with uncertainty and anticipation as the sirens drew closer. Each blaring note seemed to echo the fears gripping the crowd. Alex gripped the microphone tightly, her knuckles white, as she felt a shiver of dread creep up her spine. She could see the tension ripple through the audience, faces drained of color, eyes darting towards the door. "Stay together," she urged, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "This is our moment. We need to show them who we are." But uncertainty lingered like a thick fog. Those brave words hung in the air, and before long, a figure emerged at the center's entrance. A tall man in a crisp uniform strode in, flanked by two others. His gaze swept over the crowd, eyes narrowing as they landed on the mic. A collective breath hitched. It felt like the pause before a storm. Alex's gut twisted. Would this be the moment when their rally ended in oppression? Would all their efforts fade into whispers? She wanted to scream, to rally them into action, but fear loomed, almost paralyzing. Then, to her surprise, it was Harold who stepped forward, pushing through the crowd. The silent smoke filled the space, and all eyes turned to him. "Who are we?" he called out, his voice booming with unexpected strength. "We are more than this moment. We are a community." The tension cracked like a lightning bolt. The crowd slowly began to cheer, raising their voices in a billowing wave of sound. "I've seen what we can do together," Harold continued, gesturing to the tables filled with food, freshly prepared meals, and ingredients being shared among families. "We are not taking from society, we are feeding it. What did we just hear? These stories, they matter. They remind us of everything we've accomplished." Alex felt the weight lift ever so slightly. People were rising to their feet, shouting in defiance, uniting in strength. She could almost see the figures around her transform from apprehensive bystanders into fierce warriors ready to defend their cause. Mrs. Fisher's voice broke through the excitement. "Are we going to let them silence our stories?" "No," came the resounding reply. Jamal, his small voice full of conviction, added, "We can't let anyone take away our hope. Food is love." Tears prickled at the corners of Alex's eyes. She couldn't recall the last time she felt such raw unity among them all. Yes, they were scared, but they were also together, louder than sirens, stronger than doubt. The officer stepped forward, his brow furrowed, and the crowd stilled again. Listen, he said, voice serious yet calm. We only want to ensure the safety of this gathering. You have every right to speak. Just remember to maintain order. A wave of relief washed over the assembly, the tightness in chests easing. The sirens quieted, the spectators realizing that they had not lost their voice. Thank you? Alex shouted, almost instinctively aware that this was a crucial turning point. We've built something beautiful here. Let us celebrate that. The crowd roared, clapping and cheering, the momentum of hope surging. People began to share their stories, fears dissipating in the warmth of newfound strength. Laughter erupted as dishes were passed, memories shared, and plans made for the future, a future where voices might one day overpower the silence of a past filled with struggle. But just as the atmosphere shifted from fear to joy, a commotion erupted in the back. A group of familiar faces, those who had been skeptical of change, emerged from the shadows. Their expressions were grim, and they moved forward with urgency. Alex! They're coming back! One of them shouted, breathless. The joy faded as uncertainty crept back in. What's going on? She asked, dread pooling in her stomach. The group huddled together, conferring urgently, and Alex clenched her fists. She could feel the fire in her heart ignite once more. They had fought so hard today, she wasn't about to let it be taken away without a fight. What would it take to push through this new wave of opposition? Would they rally again, or would despair seep into their souls? Alex inhaled sharply, preparing for the next steps they would need to take. As the clamor from the back intensified, Alex felt her heartbeat quicken. What had started as a dance of unity had morphed into shadows lurking at the edges, ready to push them back. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself against the wave of panic rising within her. Listen to me! She shouted, raising her hand to quiet the anxious murmurs. The crowd's attention shifted back to her. She could see the hope still flickering in their eyes. We can't let fear back in. We've built something here that cannot be undone. Not by angry voices or threats. The group moving forward was led by Mike, once a friend, now a reminder of their division. He had a determined look, eyes hard in the hard light, and Alex could almost see the struggle in him, torn between division and the family they had once been. Why are you doing this, Mike? She called, voice strong. This is our chance to show we're better than the fear we've lived with for so long. You know this isn't about us versus them. I know that. He shot back, frustration breaking through the cracks in his facade. But they see us as a threat. They're not going to let this stand. The crowd stirred, a mix of concern and defiance. William, an older gentleman known for his steady hands and kind smile, stepped forward. We've been fighting issues like these for years. We started with nothing, and we're not going back now. A ripple of agreement surged through the group, voices rising in strength. It felt like a dam breaking, and as whispers morphed into shouts, Alex allowed herself to feel the spark growing again. Will we let doubt win? She asked, pacing a few steps closer to Mike. Or are we here to show what is possible? We cannot allow them to silence our stories. We have to show them. Just then, the uniformed officers who had retreated earlier began to reappear at the door, their shadows taller, more imposing against the bright lights of the gathering. Fear gripped the crowd once more as tension coiled tightly around them. Alex caught bits of conversation, anxious faces glancing at the uniforms that severed the warmth of the event into colder realities. Everyone, listen! She cried. We're standing here for each other. For our community. We're stronger than any uniforms they throw at us. Remember all we've shared today, each story, each meal, each moment of laughter. This is our legacy. The rallying cry echoed through the hearts surrounding her. Slowly but surely, people began to inch forward, standing shoulder to shoulder as a wall against the growing threat. Alex could feel the embers of courage sparking into flames. But then, a voice from the back called out, a shaky tone that broke through the emotional charge. What if they don't listen? What if they come for us anyway? The soft ripple of fear threaded through the group. Alex stepped forward, her breath hitching. We'll stand together, she replied, voice fierce but laced with vulnerability. This is our home. If they think they can intimidate us, they're mistaken. This isn't just about food or stories. This is about our right to exist in a world that sometimes refuses to see us. She locked eyes with Mike and saw the flicker of a challenge within him. They both knew them coming back was inevitable. The officers were a force of tradition, each step they took heavy with purpose. Will we allow them to erase us? She whispered, her confidence trying to overpower her own rising uncertainty. Lifting her chin even higher, she shouted, We will be heard. The officer in front stepped forward, his eyes cold as he scrutinized the scene. You are violating the regulations placed upon public gatherings, he barked, ready to impose order where chaos had found its voice. Just then, the crowd surged, and Alex felt the harmony shoot through them all, pushing to meet this challenge head-on. Would they stand tall and chorus their truths, or would they buckle under the final push of fear? In that charged moment, the future hung uncertainly, a thread dangling on the precipice. Alex prepared herself, feeling the strength of their collective spirit. What would happen next would define them all, forging their path forward. As the officer-esque glare intensified and the crowd swayed towards action, Alex wondered if they could truly unite against the rising tide of opposition. Would their voices be heard, or would they be silenced again? In that electric moment, the air crackled with tension. Each heartbeat seemed to resonate like thunder, echoing in the chests of everyone gathered. Alex felt the strength of the people around her. She wasn't alone in this fight. Steeling herself, she stepped forward again, hands trembling but her voice steady. We're not here to break the rules. We're here to uplift our community. This is our right. Mike's face softened for a brief second, a flicker of something resembling understanding passing between them. But before it could grow, the officer took another step forward, creating a chasm between him and the crowd. Step aside. You will disperse, or we will be forced to take action, he barked, his tone edged with the authority of many badges behind him. Action? William challenged, stepping beside Alex. What sort of action? Do you plan to silence our voices with fear? Resentment burned bright in his words as those surrounding him nodded in fervent agreement. As the officer raised his hand, ready to communicate orders to his colleagues, Alex saw a chance to turn their fear into determination. We don't want violence, she pleaded, her voice lifting above the crowd's thunderous response. We want to be seen, heard, and respected. Our stories deserve to be shared. She turned again, this time sweeping her gaze across the group. Their faces showed anxiety mixed with a new resolve. Every meal we shared builds bridges. Every laugh we had, every hand held in moments of sorrow, they knit us together in ways that cannot be torn apart. The officer hesitated, his mask of authority slipping as he glanced at his comrades, unsure how to respond to the surge of emotions rising like a wave. In that heartbeat, a silence cascaded through the crowd. Think about what's at stake here, Alex urged, softer, her words now more intimate. If you take this from us, you're not just taking a gathering, you're erasing families, lives, dreams. Mike stood frozen, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Memories flooded through him, the long hours spent cooking together, the laughter as they sat at the tables, the stories shared over meals that reminded them all of who they were. He turned, searching the faces of those behind him. Some were just kids, others were parents, grandparents. He was being pulled between fear and the pull of something deeper. The tension hung thick, as if they were all holding their breath. Then, from somewhere in the back, a voice piped up, shaky yet filled with courage. We're not just a crowd. We're a family. Eyes turned toward the source, a small teenage girl clutching a handmade sign that read, We are love. Cheers erupted from the crowd, breaking through the tension like sunlight pouring through clouds. Alex could see the change in Mike's posture as he began to relax, even if only a fraction. Someone else shouted an affirmation, and soon the chant grew louder, fueled by unity. We are love! We are family! The officer's grip fell slack, confusion dancing across his face. It was as if something within him shifted, momentarily caught off guard by the power of collective humanity. And just when it seemed like change was within reach, a booming voice rang out from behind the officer. "What's going on here?" It was the chief, a figure whose reputation loomed large. The sudden quiet felt like a seismic shift in the air. Alex felt all eyes turn to the imposing figure, the heartbeat of the crowd dropping into an anxious rhythm, uncertainty seeping back in. Would the tide turn once again, or had they ignited a fire that could not easily be extinguished? As the chief surveyed them all, his expression unreadable, Alex realized this was a pivotal moment. Their future hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of everything they had fought for. Would they push through or be pushed back? With a determination ignited by hope, Alex took a step forward, ready to act, ready to fight back. But would the chief listen, or would he perpetuate the cycle of fear they so desperately sought to break? Alex's heart raced as the chief's gaze bore down on her. The moment felt monumental. She could sense the tension weaving through the crowd, thick enough to cut. This was it, everything they had fought for was hanging by a thread. She braced herself, ready to turn the tide, when she noticed Mike shifting beside her. His expression was torn, uncertainty battling with a hint of resolve. "Listen," the chief finally said, voice booming, "I don't want any trouble here. But you've got to understand, rules are rules. We can't let an unauthorized gathering turn into something dangerous." Dangerous. The word hung in the air like a storm cloud. Alex felt anger surging within her. "But what's dangerous is silencing us," she shot back, her voice raw with emotion. "What's dangerous is not recognizing our community's pain." The chief hesitated, shifting his weight, brow furrowing. "You think you know pain? You think your gatherings are the harbingers of turmoil?" Will took a step closer, interjecting, "Experiencing pain doesn't invalidate our right to gather. We come together to heal, to connect. We're here to lift each other up, not tear each other down." Cheers erupted again from the crowd, their voices intertwining like the rhythms of a jubilant song. They stood together in solidarity, a beacon of hope in the haziness of fear. Alex felt more emboldened, witnessing the strength in unity. "Look at us," she implored, her tone softer, more personal. "This isn't just about us. It's about our children, our elders, our future. We turn to each other in difficult times because we are family. And families don't turn their backs on one another." The chief's hardened exterior flickered. For a moment, Alex saw something beneath the surface: vulnerability, perhaps even doubt. But then he composed himself, pushing that glimpse away like it was an inconvenient thought. "Family doesn't make a habit of breaking the law." His voice thundered again, but this time it was laced with uncertainty. Alex felt her stomach drop. The crowd's excited murmurs turned into whispers of concern. But she refused to back down. "No, we are not breaking the law. We're standing for what is right." Suddenly, a shout came from the back. "What about the law that helps us protect our rights?" A young man with earnest eyes began to move forward, driven by the fervor that Alex saw mirrored in everyone else. "What about the laws that ensure we have a place to belong? A place where we can share our stories?" He hadn't just challenged the chief. He had challenged the very foundation of the authority that governed them. Alex felt a thrill pulse through the crowd. It was as if they were awakening a sleeping giant in everyone's hearts. The chief's face darkened again, but Alex pressed on. "We're not asking for permission anymore. We're declaring our existence. We will not let fear dictate our lives." The chant rolled through the gathering like a ripple, the power behind their words electrifying. "We are love! We are family!" In the midst of the chorus, Alex lost herself in the moment, her fears melting away. This was who she was, who they were. They were powerful together. But just as the crowd swelled with confidence, the chief raised his hand. "Enough!" The authority in his voice momentarily silenced them. "I need to think about this." The breathy anticipation that followed felt like an eternity. What would he decide? Would he finally see their humanity, their love? As the chief turned away, uncertainty etched in his features, Alex felt a wave of despair wash over her. What if he walked away? What if they lost this moment? But down deep, that flicker of hope still burned bright. Together, they had sparked something. Whether it would burn brightly enough to change the course ahead remained to be seen. With their collective voices still pulsating in the air, one question lingered: what was their next move if the chief turned his back? Determined not to give up, Alex took a step closer to the crowd and felt the fiery strength within grow. If they were going to face whatever came next, they'd have to unite stronger than ever. But how far were they willing to go to fight for their voices? The crowd stood in a tight huddle, a living entity pulsing with anticipation and unrest. Alex's heart raced as she scanned the faces around her. Fear, hope, determination, all these emotions blended together in a medley that sparked a fire within her. She couldn't let this moment slip away. "Let us not break apart," she called, her voice cutting through the air with a steadiness she didn't fully feel. "We are stronger together. If the chief needs time to think, we will use this time to organize and show him that we are not backing down." A young woman, tears glistening in her eyes, reached for Alex's hand, gripping it tight. "What if he doesn't agree with us? What if this ends badly?" Her voice trembled with vulnerability, reflecting the fear lingering in the air. Alex squeezed her hand back, steadying herself as much as her companion. "Then we'll have to stand up for ourselves. We are showing him what it means to be alive, to care for one another. We'll show him we're here, no matter what. He might see our strength in numbers." Nods of agreement flickered like tiny flames sparking to life in the crowd. Inspired, people began to share their own stories, personal tales of struggle, loss, and the moments that had driven them to gather today. Each voice that rose added a thick layer to the tapestry of their unity. One after another, they stood up, bearing their truths. An older gentleman spoke of regret, how he had once stayed silent while injustice unfolded around him. "No more," he declared, raising a fist with defiance. "I will never be quiet again." The crowd erupted in applause, a symphony of voices echoing the collective longing for change. Alex felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins. They were weaving a narrative that could not be ignored, but amidst the stirring souls, doubt nagged at the edges of her heart. Was it enough? Would this passion be enough to sway the chief? She took a deep breath, centering herself. Everyone has a right to their voice. Let us create a space where everyone can be heard. A ripple of excitement surged through the gathering. With newfound energy, a group of people began writing down their stories, capturing their experiences in pen, transforming their spoken words into tangible truths. Alex felt an exhilaration. This was action. This was change. "Let us make a vow," she said, rallying their spirits. "A vow to meet here again tomorrow, next week, whenever we need to band together. We won't let anyone erase us. We will be visible. The truth will shine through." Someone shouted, and the crowd echoed it back, their voices harmonizing into a chant that filled the space around them, intertwined with hope and resolve. Yet, even as they lifted spirits, a growing concern loomed near. What if the chief called in reinforcements? What if they faced backlash for their unity? The fear of the unknown gnawed at Alex, but she wouldn't let it show. Suddenly, a pair of headlights sliced through the gathering, narrowing into focus as a police vehicle pulled into view. Tension mounted, fear rippled through the crowd. Alex's stomach dropped. This was it. The chief had made his move. "Everyone stay put," she shouted, urging calm before panic could spiral. "We're not done fighting. Hold tight to your stories. They matter." Some faces twisted in worry, but many leaned into her words. They knew what they stood for. As the officer stepped out, Alex's breath hitched. What would he say? Would they face confrontation or understanding? The air crackled with uncertainty as the crowd held its collective breath, and Alex took a step forward, ready for whatever came next. Would this officer be an ally or an adversary? The moment teetered on the brink, and in that tension, everything hung in the balance. The officer's eyes scanned the gathering, confusion mingling with surprise. As he approached, Alex felt a rush of adrenaline pushing her forward, her heart pounding in synchronization with the pulse of the crowd. "We just want to be heard," she shouted, the passion behind her words echoing through the center. We're not just a noise, we're a community. The officer hesitated, glancing back at the police vehicle standing stark against the vibrant backdrop of their gathering. He looked at the sea of faces, each one filled with hope, fear, and determination. This is a lot of people, he finally said, voice steady but edged with caution. But if you're here to share stories and food, you need to ensure there's no disruption. And just like that, a flicker of understanding passed through the crowd, casting a silent thread connecting them to the officer. They weren't asking for permission, they were insisting on their right to exist and thrive as a community. We can make this work, Alex shouted, her voice brimming with resolve. We promise to keep this peaceful. We just want to share our stories, that's all. Instinctively, she stepped closer, where the warm glow of camaraderie spilled over like the aromas of the dishes laid out across the tables. Come listen to us. See the strength here today. The officer looked at the table laden with home-cooked meals and smiling faces, and something shifted in his expression. He took a breath, hands lowering slightly from the urgency they'd held. A small voice emerged from deep within him. Go ahead, show me what you're about. The crowd erupted with cheers, each cheer a tidal wave of gratitude washing away their tension. You see? Alex beamed. This is love in action. Join us. One by one, they shared their stories. Mrs. Fisher spoke of her grandmother's spices bringing warmth to her heart despite her arduous journey. Young Jamal recited a poem about dreams woven from his mom's loving whispers. Voices shared tales of hardship, laughter, love, and resilience. Each story painted a picture of life in their community, a life worth fighting for. As they spoke, Alex glanced at the officer, who stood, arms crossed but eyes softening with every tale he absorbed. This is what it means to be a community, she concluded, feeling the power of unity coursing through her. We are stronger together. A realization dawned in the officer's expression, a flicker of connection igniting where once there had only been duty. Didn't he realize, he trailed off, glancing around at the mingling stories and laughter. You're more than just names on a list. I see that now. The crowd surged closer, voices rising in a joyful chorus of resounding agreements and clapping hands. The officer broke a smile, a softening of the heart he hadn't expected, and with it, he became part of their tapestry of hope. Together, we can create something beautiful, he said, taking a small step forward to connect with the people. Let us make sure the food bank stays. The excitement rippling through the crowd reached a crescendo. Yes. Everyone shouted, tears of relief and joy shimmering in their eyes. They had fought hard for their community, for each other, and they had emerged stronger, united in purpose. Under the setting sun, they knew they would remember this moment, the day when they transformed that fear into belonging. The day that ignited a real change. And then it happened, a voice rang out. Let us celebrate with a feast to show we are one. Someone shouted, and laughter and excitement broke out like fireworks. They quickly organized tables, full of vibrant food, laughter, and stories swirling around like a dance. As they feasted, Alex saw families bonding over shared dishes, understanding blooming from their conversations. Ethan, eyes bright, sat with Jamal, sharing a plate of chili and learning from the older voices around them. It felt like a dream woven from shared meals. Look what we did, Mom! Ethan beamed, his excitement radiating. Alex smiled, heart swelling with pride and warmth. We didn't just protect the food bank, my love. We created a legacy. It's a bond. Just like the great Mongol Khan. And in that moment, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex understood that while they might have started this fight for their survival, they had transformed the battle into a celebration of community and love. As the evening winds whispered through the gathering, she made a silent vow this was just the beginning. Their stories had power, their togetherness could spark change. They would rise again, and their unity would redefine their destiny in ways they never imagined possible. Everyone around them could feel it, the spirit of hope lifted high, their hearts echoing the truth. Together, they would thrive. Now, more than ever, it's time to rally our voices. If you love this journey, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to become part of our evolving community. Leave a like now to fuel our mission, to showcase that you understand the weight of togetherness and its potential. Comment down below about your feelings and reactions to this inspiring ending. Your voice matters. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation and hope in their hearts. Let us spread the love. Show your support for our channel today.